Welcome to the Squarebase Show with your hosts, Rob and Val. And in this broadcast, we are bringing you an emergency!
Emergency podcast!
Emergency podcast.
No, I pressed the wrong button. All right, there we go. It's off. Okay.
Thank goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us live. Thanks, everyone, on the Squarebase Patreon. Loads of love to all of you. Okay, so emergency podcast.
An emergency from 3 days ago, but yes.
Well, yes, correct. In this community article posted by Games Workshop, we have got probably one of the most exciting kind of couple of sentences. Now, we are the kings of making whole articles last a while, but can we make 2 sentences last a while? We will see.
We got 40 minutes on this, no problem.
So if you do not know, Old World, Warhammer the Old World has not had regular balance patches and updates like you see in Age of Sigmar and 40K. Instead, what we have seen is a couple of FAQs here and there, and then one big impactful FAQ and balance patch in the summer in conjunction with the Match Play Guide book.
Correct.
Now, the Renegades, or the Legend armies, as you know them, have been balanced and updated by Mr. Val Heffelfinger, and very recently, because of some problems in the community and also generally to bring some more equity, we announced the SBC, which is the Squarebase comp, which we will link in the didgeridoo below, which hopefully gives tournaments, but also generally your home games, more ability to play. However, exciting times.
What is so exciting, Rob? What are we even referring to? There's a lot of italics. I as a Warhammer player, I can't read italics.
That's true. That's so true. So in reference to the current Arcane Journal, the Raising of the Westerland that's been released, they have said that because there are 2 units in there which are updates to books, so they will be included in the next FAQ, and a Rata update, which is massive news. Cool. Which is massive news to us because this is scheduled for the end of January and will include a number of balance updates for factions old and new, which I think that's Cathay, based on your feedback since the 1.5 update in July. So let's just start with this. How do you feel about this? What's your kind of first thoughts?
Well, my first thought is great. We have sort of heard some rumors and rumbling around the idea that there might be something coming in the beginning of the new year, and lo and behold, they've confirmed it for us. A little love letter, and that's really nice. This helps a lot. I know, Rob and I run events. We go to events, and this really helps in being able to plan for those things. And the Squarebase comp and Renegades 2.0, I think, are both affected by this as well. So yeah, I think that's really fantastic. Now, I have seen some speculation out there on the wording of this paragraph. In fact, it's the first thing most people have responded with. I think you've already cleared it, but what do you think about this factions old and new? Could we be talking about legacy factions, Rob? Could we be talking about legacy factions?
Obviously, we as a community would love to see updated rules from Games Workshop for legacy factions. I think that would be very exciting. And also, it might fan, maybe unfairly, a little bit of fire in people's hearts that legacy armies may again in the future return to the old world. So, hopes are high. Copium on full huff. I am huffing hard.
Deep lungfuls of the copium. Yes,
deep lungfuls. I feel like it's a weird way to word all factions and Cathay,
which I think is exactly what they mean by it. Yes,
which is what they mean by it. But it's an incredibly weird way to say it.
Yeah, it is a weird way to say it. And where there's weirdness, perhaps there is a way. Yeah. Maybe there's a little, and of course, any updates to the legacy factions would just be deleting the good rules that are in there. I'm sure. Can
I just point out the fact that one of the things that I think is really exciting about this is obviously they've said it'll be an FAQ, but it is intentionally a balance update. So there's intentionality there in that sentence. We intend to do a balance update in the future. Like, that's crazy. And then the other part of this is that they have specified the timing. My number one criticism of Games Workshop's balance updates is that we will roughly do it in 3 months. We will roughly do it at this point. Telling me when, now I know as an event organizer, hey, everyone, if you're attending this event in February, it'll probably be using the new balance updates.
That's right. And that is just so lovely. And also it's just nice to know. I mean, even if you're not going to an event or whatever, it's like something that now suddenly there's a really cool thing that's coming that you get to be all hyped and psyched for. And also I think it's a great thing because I think there was some degree of like, more Cathay, blah. For that next big release, which will I would bet be exactly that weekend. And whatever the weekend Cathay's announced for pre-order, I suspect is when this FAQ will drop. That is, I think, really, really important. I think that's probably perfectly good timing.
Also gives us a good indication of when. That's a great point you just brought up. That gives us a good indication of when that Cathay book will drop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I suspected as much based on their previous behavior. However, a couple other previous behavior things that this is also nice. This is nice. I've been a little bit annoyed that since 1.5 happened that they didn't come back and immediately address some of the issues with Cathay out of those arcane journals. Not just balance issues, but even just like rules interactions and things. Maybe even the fact they didn't come back and address some of the things that maybe were overlooked in 1.5 that we like the community kind of sussed out and found immediately. They were all things that sort of made what should have, we've said this before, made what should have been a really strong period of time for Old World, a really exciting time of growth, into kind of a bit of a bummer period, really, because folks tend to react really badly to a bully, and Cathay in certain builds is a real bully. And so that was a bummer. So I think giving hope to those of us out here who are like, hey, let's improve the game state. Let's make Cathayan players able to use their army without feeling like pariah. There's hope now that maybe they address these things, and that would be really wonderful. And and then also it's other factions too, and they're talking about balance. So maybe we're finally going to see some points adjustments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
I think points adjustments could be a really solid way to look at several of the armies, especially if they've put in a lot of time and effort into it. Now, let's address a couple of the concerns, which I'm sure many people have. Rob, Val, I don't want to go onto the 40k and AOS cycle of constant balance updates, constant changes. This does put us around the 6-month mark every time. Good. That feels okay. Obviously, if you do think it's too fast, please let me know. I think unlike AOS and 40k, you're not going to see like giant rules changes, or I think you're going to see maybe points, and a unit being 5 points, not 6 points, is fine. Like that's like per model. I mean, like that's fine. That's not overly impactful. Obviously, it really does depend on how much we saw the points changes in the summer one, and it's pretty anemic. And this is speaking for someone with experience. Like that was. But yeah, we got like 2 different units with points changes, 3, and they were pretty terrible.
Yeah, they were almost like why did you even waste the word processor time on it? So maybe this will be more substantial. We'll see. I am curious because there are internal, and I think that was one of the criticisms also of the square-based comp was that it doesn't address internal balance. It doesn't address what different factions are capable of, and how a point is not really worth the same amount in output in one army as it is another. So I think that is cool that there is hope for this. One issue I know, like just because everything that we've been seeing so far reminds me so much of what it was like in early, in 8th edition 40K, my experience there. And one thing is they did start doing rather quickly points adjustments through something called chapter approved. However, they were very cherry picked. So like you would see, units get adjusted, and then, another unit over here in the same book on the same page would be left alone. Or a points adjustment might be made to a unit that was also maybe adjusted through an FAQ or an errata in the same document, and then that points change is like either double buffing or double nerfing something. So like when you're adjusting anything that is a system, you kind of have to have a really good knowledge of it to be able to make those changes without having knock-on effects, or at least consider what those knock-on effects are. So I will hold my breath until I see it, but I imagine, it's only a good thing that they're flexing this muscle and they are willing to address balance rather than just letting things go, because it is a thing. I mean, when I saw, like, when we were doing Cali Cup last weekend, Stephen, who was the sort of the judge on the day, he was running around with a rule book. And I looked at him like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing with a rule book in your hand? Like, you got to use toe.whfb.app, because that rule book is not the rules anymore."
Yeah,
right? Like, a lot of, like, it doesn't have a lot of things. It's been changed and modified a lot. And so that is one of the bummers of this, is that, obviously the print materials do fall further and further out of date. That being said, I would much rather they fix things and I put a sticky note in my book if I'm so dedicated to it, or use a community-made online resource to access stuff and have a better game. And so I think the commitment to a better game outweighs the fact that, yes, some books are going to be out of date. And if you care a lot about that, it strikes me as though
don't use the rules. Don't use
the updates, right? Like you can also just play things out of the book as is written. The game worked before. You don't have to necessarily even care. So I think I applaud them. I'm glad they're doing it. Every 6 months, I think, is very nice. I would say, however, when you have a house that is on fire, you should probably respond a little quicker. And their house has been on fire, I think, specifically around Cathay. And I hope hasn't done lasting damage to enthusiasm and excitement about this game. But nonetheless,
the exciting thing that I saw here, at least, is the announcement that we're going to get this ahead of time, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. But the next part of this, which I think is huge, is the intentionality of the next statement. We plan to keep releasing updated FAQ and erratas at regular intervals. So please don't hesitate to contact us with your questions. This is a pivot. That single sentence in of itself is worthy of like an hour-long conversation. We're not going to do that, but like, this is a change. This is as big as the sentence. The scope of the project has expanded. This is not something that they had previously specifically said, we will not be doing that.
Well, they said that they really put cold water, certainly, on the 1.5 errata when they released it. They said, this is it. We're not going to be doing any big changes again. So, like, you better like this one. And so it's nice to see a little bit of a softening of that language, certainly in that. Mm-hmm. Of course, as we've joked in the past, when they said, there are no plans for Cathay or Kislev in the foreseeable future, we joked foreseeable future could be the next, 6 years. It could be 6 months. It could be 6 days, right? So regular interval is also in that world. But if regular interval works out to be 6 months for sort of balance type updates, and then also when a book is released, addressing any obvious issues or misprints or whatever, I'm fine with that. I think that would be really acceptable to the community. Once every 6 months, I think is just enough, is just about right. And like you pointed out before, we're right at that 6 month mark. One other thing I'd love to shout out is the idea that the Marauders are going to be included in the errata.
Yep. So you don't even need to buy the book.
So you don't have to buy the book for the Marauder stuff, because you've already bought that, which is really cool, and also makes me wonder if that will also include the new Grand Army for Cathay, which they alluded to as being in the next Arcane Journal for Cathay. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that will be an errata as well. So that way, you aren't forced, or at least you don't feel forced into buying the new stuff, which I think is always an important psychological thing. I hate it when they do that, when they, I'm going to buy it. Don't make me feel like an asshole for doing it, because, you're strong arming me into doing it. So like, if it's something that's just a straight, update to an existing thing, then I'm glad to see it as an errata. Maybe even the Tomb King changes we'll see added to an errata. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'd like to be,
so yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to be a little bit more charitable with the, and we intend to make like regular updates. I think I agree with you. It could just mean anything, but I feel like there's something in there that's a little bit more pointed because it's an exact opposite language of stuff we've seen in the past, which is we don't
it is
intend.
it is a softening.
Like so, I'm pretty excited about that. I see that as basically a 180. So I'm pumped. I'm pretty pumped. I think that's good because, like you said, getting more regular. At least, like, even if they're small incremental changes or even just, tiny tweak on a balloon, maybe would have saved us a couple of months of online discourse, which would have been solid. But
good God, yes. So many characters typed.
Yeah. So, but also this also kind of asks us a question and also answers something for me. I've always been most frustrated when Games Workshop have not announced when we're going to be seeing updates. This says the end of January, which is really solid. Also, for people out there who might be asking what's happening with SBC or the Square Base Comp, also what's happening with Renegades. For Square Base Comp, we plan on before Christmas, so around 17th, 18th, 19th, depends on the exact upload date of December. We plan on updating the Square Base Comp based on initial early feedback. So that is kind of giving us enough time that hopefully January, and stuff isn't going to change by 600 points. It's either going to change, it's either going to go up and down one tier. And then we plan to look at it again post this FAQ balance update. I think that seems very reasonable.
Right. I think as a rule of thumb, and then going forward there, I think as a rule of thumb, roughly quarterly, probably. I think, or any sort of landmark shift in an FAQ or something like that. So I think that is probably a fine pace. So we'll get those things in there. I think the way that I'll react with Renegades on this one, because I'm sort of through a lot of organizing and tournament stuff that I've been working on. People have been on me, I think rightfully so, to start moving forward on 2.0. I think I'll be beginning the drafting process. So that means like soliciting feedback, sharing ideas and rules and stuff like that throughout December, probably January as well. And then we'll wait for what their balance update actually shows us. Because as I wrote in the original preamble, I didn't want to touch points until I saw what their philosophy around points would be. And if they would at all touch points at all. So once we see, are they very, methodical about, points changes, and do they make, really large adjustments, or is it sort of like we saw in 1.5 where they sort of very specifically do a minor tweak to a few units? We'll have to see, and that will inform whether or not any changes need to be made to Renegades 2.0. And then, so hopefully we'll have a new Renegades in flight, I would say in February after this update. And then probably from there on out, we'd be looking at updating it in response to further balance updates in the future. Sort of on that sort of same timeline is how I would see it. So that would be my update for Renegades.
Okay, so we'll try to include those in the top pinned comment. Will kind of give you the order of those dates, so you can kind of know where we're at. But it's nice. I like the fact that we can also announce kind of our changes, and also Games Workshop can announce their changes as well. And hopefully, we end up with an incredibly exciting 2026. Arcane Journals, new armies, FAQ updates, SBC, Renegades. That's a lot of stuff to make like either your games at home or even events better and more fun. Which you can attend events here at the tsnarena.com. And then you can, so if you ever want to come to Nottingham, apparently there's loads of you out there, Val's been telling me, that might want to come. So travel to Nottingham and come to my events. Also, if you want to go to Tirani or go to any of the events that Val's organizing as well, those in the future. So a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, it's a super exciting time, and we'll have a stat center coming up soon, I think, where we can maybe highlight some of those upcoming events in greater detail, and really start doing, I think, a good job of. I'd really love us to start not only talking about them after they happen, but maybe getting in front of some of the bigger ones that are being planned, so that people know about them. We do have a nice little platform here to share that and help all the communities with popularizing their events
around the world.
Around the world. So yeah, it's super exciting. I can't wait to see what they do. And even again, if it doesn't, match expectations, every time they do this, it just injects, life into the game. And it also, most importantly to me, is that duty of care, right? Like, for whatever reason, I can't explain it. I really give a shit about Warhammer the Old World, and so it really makes a big difference to me when I see, the company that publishes it also give a shit about it. That's
or
super
have the
important
resources to do something with it.
Yeah, that's true. And that's always an important distinction. They have been enabled by folks who help them allocate their time, leadership, to take care of the game and to address concerns from players. And so that is fantastic. It's amazing how much goodwill a company like Games Workshop can build by just showing that they care. We've seen now new miniatures. We're seeing really, in our review, Kappa Chow of the raising of Westerland. We saw some really cool new rules. Like I said, new models. We've got a whole new army. Like, it's clear that there's investment and interest in this game from the company. So it's not a waste of time to be joining in on this party. And so hopefully this is all just good news for everyone out there. Let us know in the comments if you feel as awesome about this as we do. Hence the emergency podcast.
Emergency over. Let us know what you think in the comments. Loads of love. We'll see you soon.
Good news. It was a good news emergency.
It was a good
usually
news
emergency podcast is not usually good news. This is good news.
Yeah, good, great, awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. See you soon. Bye.